What is happening, baby? Welcome back to the Huddle Chat Sports Network's very own Fantasy Football Huddle, presented by Danklyfe brand and yours truly, Dallas Clark. Today, we're going to be discussing the players you should pick up going into Week 8, going through some of the injuries that came through this week, and discussing some players that you can cut off your team as well. Before we do, if you like the content, make sure you smash that like button. And if you haven't yet, hit that subscriptions bar as well as that notifications bell. Now, without further ado, let's fill up our cups, roll something up, and get right into the injury report from Week 7 and before. Looks like so far 92 relevant fantasy football players have been on my list so far. Going into this week, you have Jaden Daniels, who left early in the game. Looks like most likely it's going to be a cartilage rib tear, which would leave him out a week. But if it is a rib fracture, it could be 3 to 4 weeks. So hoping for the best. The game also was kind of out of hand already at the beginning, so there was never really a need for him to come back into the game, as you saw. And honestly, you're looking at Marcus Mariota. He didn't really need to pass very much, but he looked pretty decent in the return to the football field for him. You're also looking at Deshaun Watson staying with quarterbacks, having that Achilles tear. Browns fans were heard cheering in the stadium as the cart came out to get Deshaun Watson. I know there have been a few terrible things that he's been accused of, but I hate hearing people cheer when somebody gets hurt like that, man. It's not a cool look, but you're looking at Deshaun Watson most likely missing the season. Hopefully they get Jameis Winston in at quarterback. I think Jameis Winston played much better than DTR did, even though it was a very small sample size. I was kind of confused as to why they didn't go with Jameis Winston from the jump. But we're going to be moving on to the running back position. I'm looking at Antonio Gibson leaving the game early in London. He did come back. It was undisclosed why he left the game. You're also looking at David Montgomery also taking a knee injury. It looked pretty bad when I first had seen it while I was watching Red Zone, but he did come back into the game, and everything looked pretty decent. It might be even just something as simple as like an MCL sprain that he obviously should be able to play through. Jahmyr Gibbs had a great game in his departure, though. You're looking at in the wide receiver room, Brandon Ayuk, probably the most significant injury in this weekend. He had a significant hyperextension. Could be a multitude of things in his knee, but most likely everybody's thinking he's going to be done for the large part, if not the most, of the rest of the season. So you're looking at DK Metcalf as well, also taking a knee injury. He did not return. Similar situation to the Jaden Daniels situation. The game was out of hand. There may not have been a need for him to come back. We'll have to monitor his situation throughout the week to see if he's going to be playing this Sunday. But I think things are pointing well for him to be playing good this week. Last couple of people to mention, Deebo Samuel and Demario Douglas both had illnesses coming into this last game, which really sucked if you started one of them. Either one of them hardly played any plays this week. So you're looking at Deebo Samuel being probably one of the most disappointing starts this week. But Demario Douglas, we did talk about him in the startums and situms last week as well. Who knew he was going to be coming into London under the weather? Then you're looking at Juju Smith-Schuster, looking like he re-injured his hamstring this last week, the one that he was kind of fighting throughout the week. Looks like he aggravated it on Sunday, so monitor his status as well. Now going into Week 8, we have no bye weeks coming up this week. So starting everything off, you may need a quarterback, and this is the time to add Tua Tagovailoa back into your roster. He's rostered in 27% of leagues right now, and he's more than good to go. I think it was more of a PR look, the good type of look that they wanted to have Tua Tagovailoa sit out for the 4 games from the history and things like that. He still has Tyreek Hill, still has Jalen Waddle, still has Jonnu Smith coming out here and playing good as we've been hoping for, as I've been talking about since the preseason, as we talked about on last week's Stardom and Sidham's episode. So Jonnu Smith is starting to come into his own right like we expected, and you're looking at a good matchup against the quarterback against Arizona Cardinals this week. So everything's pointing up for Tua Tagovailoa, and if you need a quarterback, you might even be able to plug him straight into your starting lineup this week. Moving on to the wide receiver position, we're going to be looking at Keon Coleman. I think he benefits a lot from Amari Cooper coming to this team. You're looking at it being right in your face this weekend. You're looking at Keon Coleman leading the team with 125 receiving yards. He even had a touchdown that was called back with his toe being barely outside of out of bounds. You're looking at his targets being valuable, those downfield targets, and you know how Josh Allen loves to throw downfield. So I think Keon Coleman now having a true number one wide receiver there to take the attention from the defense, to take the number one cornerback away from the defense. You're looking at Keon Coleman, I think, being the biggest beneficiary of Amari Cooper's presence in Buffalo. Next player we're going to be adding is going to be Ricky Pearsall from the San Francisco 49ers. He's added in 5.5% of leagues right now. It was his first game back since being shot, and he led the team in routes. You're looking at the banged-up 49ers right now needing a spark, losing Brandon Ayuk, as we talked about. Deebo Samuel was sick, as we talked about. You're looking at really him having the perfect opportunity over these next few weeks while the Niners are banged up and needing a spark to really start to score. You're looking at CMC still out. Brandon Ayuk is going to be out. Jawan Jennings did take an injury this weekend as well. So Ricky Pearsall has a perfect window to really come up and make a name for himself in this lineup. Last wide receiver we're talking about is going to be Jalen Tolbert from the Dallas Cowboys. He's got 13 or more PPR points in 3 of 4 weeks this season. He's been the true number 2 wide receiver for this Dallas Cowboys offense with Brandon Cooks being out. And they have a couple of good matchups coming up for the wide receiver position. So I think Jalen Tolbert, we've been talking about him for a couple of weeks. If you still haven't gone out and got him and he's still available, go get him and add that piece and that depth to your bench. Moving on to the running back position, there's not much in the ways of running backs on the waiver wire this week. I'm identifying 2 handcuff running backs first and foremost. First is going to be Blake Corum. He's the true Kyren Williams handcuff in the Los Angeles Rams backfield, and he may be the most valuable handcuff there is in fantasy football this season. If Kyren does go down, you're looking at Blake Corum instantly jumping up to a top 12 running back that week instantaneously. Another really good handcuff running back for you to grab is going to be Ray Davis from the Buffalo Bills. He's added in 14.7% of leagues right now, and he's the true James Cook handcuff. In week 6, when there was no James Cook, you're looking at him taking 20 carries for 97 yards and a touchdown. This week, he only had 5 carries, but I think he busted up about 41 yards and that touchdown this week as well. This day 3 running back is producing in this offense, and if James Cook is to miss any time, you're looking at Ray Davis instantaneously becoming a good starter off the back of your bench. Last running back we're talking about today is going to be Alexander Mattison from the Las Vegas Raiders. If he's still out there, Zamir White has lost his job. You're looking at Alexander Mattison getting 23 carries this week, his Raiders career high, his season high, and in Zamir White's return this week, there's no competition for targets. He's a workhorse running back, and he gets the goal line work. I know he's attached to this putrid Las Vegas Raiders offense. However, a workhorse running back is always valuable due to their volume. Moving on to the last couple of players we're talking about today is going to be tight ends. We're going to be talking about Hunter Henry, who's added in 27% of leagues right now. In his 2 weeks with Drake May, he's been the top target. In week 6, he had 5 targets, 3 receptions for 41 yards and a touchdown. This week, 9 targets, 8 receptions for 92 yards. He's got an 83% route participation, and I know that the tight end position has been hard to figure out. Hunter Henry is definitely got to be startable, and he's got to be rostered in more than a quarter of leagues in fantasy football. And the last one we're going to talk about is the same one we talked about last week, Jonnu Smith, and I told y'all to add Jonnu Smith last week. He came off of 9 targets in week 6, had 8 targets this week. You're looking at him being productive. He's getting Tua Tagovailoa back. So you do look at Jonnu Smith definitely having the ability. I might even consider starting him over somebody like Sam Laporta at this point. Also, you're looking at Cole Kmet from the Chicago Bears. He's coming off a bye week. He's playing the Washington Commanders. A lot of owners do not have the ability to hold on to multiple tight ends right now. So maybe he got dropped in your league. I think Cole Kmet is definitely worth an addition, especially with his matchup this week. That's going to be it for today's episode. Make sure you check us out on Sundays, live NFL pregame kickoff show, 9:30 Mountain Standard Time, 11:30 Eastern Standard Time, primarily on YouTube for this week only. It's going to be exclusively on YouTube. Other than that, we normally have it on Facebook and Twitch, but check us out on YouTube this week for the Week 8 NFL pregame kickoff show. And if you haven't yet, smash that like button and hit that subscriptions bar. That's going to do it for me today, everybody. Y'all have a good one. Make sure you keep your chin up and your attitude down. I'll see y'all next time. Peace out.